Hello. I'd like to I'd like to introduce Bob Richards from Stockbridge High School. He's going to talk about Return to Paloux, about how high school students from Stockbridge, Michigan use underwater remotely operated vehicles to search for missing airmen in the Western Pacific Ocean. Please welcome him and his team.
Thank you, Phil. Um, it's great to be here. I almost feel like I'm at a confessional, and I should probably confess to you that I'm not a University of Michigan graduate. I'm a Michigan State graduate. But I love it here. This is a great venue, and the University of Michigan staff's been great to us. Thank you. My students didn't think I'd say that, so I just wanted to loosen them up a little bit.
Oh, you went one too far.
Okay, so this is our team. This is the second year we've been traveling to Palau. It's unlike most normal high school classes in that we also meet during the summer. And the picture on the bottom is our team meeting over a barbecue this summer with the group called the Bent Prop Project that we traveled to Palau with. I'm going to let each one of my students go ahead and introduce themselves real quick and their role on the team.
I'm Jenny Spink. I'm a senior and a second-year founding member of this team. I head up our marketing department, so I help organize all of our fundraisers and help the team get to Palau.
I'm Buck Pozuek. I'm the leader of the engineering team. This was my second year on the team, so I helped design and build the ROV itself.
I'm Jeremy Spink. This is my first year on the team. I'm on the engineering team with Buck, and I help him with the ROV, and I also work on the towfish.
Another unique thing about our program is we work directly with our elementary school. And to my right here is Josh Nichols.
Hello. We have a 3rd through 5th grade project-based learning academy that we started last year. And Bob and I work together where the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders build ROVs and receive help with building claws, a little bit of programming, and design work.
So our robotics program, like Mr. Nichols said, starts in the 3rd grade. We have some, goes through the middle school and up into the high school. We have a basic robotics one, which is just land-based VEX robotics. In class, just competition with each other. And then you can move up in underwater competition, and they go through the mate competition, which Buck's done a year. And that kind of is how we've got our start with this. We had a fairly successful team, and there was a newspaper article about it. And Flip Colmer, who was part of the Bent Prop Project, lives in Chelsea, which is just next to us. And he saw this article. And the Bent Prop Project's mission is to search in the Republic of Palau, which is over by Guam, for World War II MIAs, aircraft and their airmen. So he saw an article about our competitive team and thought, they have the capability to build a robot that can go down 130 feet into the ocean where a wreck diver can't do that. So it suited very well for their needs, and we've partnered with them for the past 2 years, building this ROV that has 3 cameras and essentially is an eye underneath the ocean, and it's much safer than sending a wreck diver down. Along with the Bent Prop Project, we've worked with Scripps Institute of Oceanography. Buck's got more knowledge about that than I do.
Scripps goes to Palau for the past 4 years using their AUVs to run side-scan sonar in large-scale areas. So once they see a target that looks man-made, they send it to Bent Prop, and then they either have us go out with our ROV and see if the target's a man-made object, and if it's worth diving on, then we'll send the divers down. Or if it's just coral, then we can mark that off the list, and we don't have to worry about that target anymore. We also worked with Scripps on the boat. They have a hexacopter team, and then they also have ROVs, and then so they have aerial views with GoPros on it. That's a picture of Evan Walsh. He flew the helicopter or hexacopter a couple times on the boat, doing surveys over a larger area using waypoints with GPS. Also with their ROVs, they did a little bit of work with it there, but their main objective is using the AUVs for side-scan sonar targets.
Okay. And we're looking to add this to our program next year, the hexacopters. The nice thing about these is it provides a capability that we don't have and Bent Prop doesn't have. There's only one helicopter in the whole Palau Island chain, and it's used by tourists. But there's some mangrove swamps that are filled with saltwater crocodiles, and it's easier to look for airplane wreckage with an eye in the sky as opposed to feet in the mud.
So this is our engineering team's job. It's just to build the ROV and get it a functional one that can dive at over 130 feet. So before we even go to Palau, we have to test our ROV. And our school in Stockbridge doesn't really have a pool to test it, so we have to carry in a little cattle watering trough from a nearby farm. And we snuck that into our computer lab and test our buoyancy in there and make sure all the thrusters work. And so once we know it can work, we take it to the Chelsea pool, which is about a 20-minute drive from Stockbridge, and test it at a little bit deeper depth and get everything working just fine.
Okay, so this is our control system. It's actually very simple. It's the same control system that we use for the basic land robotics, except for the fact that instead of the microcontroller relaying a signal to motors, we send it to an ESC, which goes to our thrusters on the robot. Now everything on the top there that you see on the screen is inside that top part of the robot.
So the other part of our team is raising the money to get there. For the past 2 years, we've raised $45,000 without any financial help from our school district. So we've organized various fundraisers. The ones you're seeing on your screen right now are movie nights that we've hosted. We've shown the Bent Prop documentary, Last Flight Home, and that just kind of showcases what the group does. It follows the story of them finding a B-24 crew and everything they went through with their search and their information and returning the crew members back to their family. We have a person on our team that's dedicated to print media. He writes about our group, helps raise awareness in that fact.
And he was actually published overseas as well as in the United States. He was published in the Palawan newspapers 3 times while we were there 2 weeks ago, and we have also been published in Robot Magazine this year, along with several TV news reports. And in addition to this, the Discovery Channel spent 3 days with us in Palau 2 weeks ago. So hopefully in September there's a TV special about our team and the work in Palau over the last 2 years.
And then we also use social media too. We have a Facebook page and a Twitter page, so you guys should go like us. When we're in Palau for the past 2 years, we posted updates with pictures and just kind of blurbs of what's going on, how the day went, any technical issues that we had. And then there's pictures throughout the year of the engineering process, what the guys are going through, figuring things out, fixing things, making improvements, and then all of our marketing stuff, where we're going to be, what presentations we're doing.
So there's over 1,000 people that like our classroom Facebook page. We have teams that we correspond with from Egypt, from Venezuela, from Macau, from Hong Kong, and they're sending us questions on how to build their competitive ROVs better. And we're, sharing that information with them, and then they're also providing us some help along the way.
We had some success last year when we were in Palau. The day we arrived there, a couple spear fishermen found a Marine Corsair, and we were the first team to actually take video images of it in 68 years. So we found the airplane, and then we imaged it as much as we could, and then Bent Prop went down with the diver. You can see the archaeologist right there, the scuba diver, and they're trying to find the data plate and get a good picture of it so we can track the crash information down. And we did that successfully, and we found out that it was the Captain McCullough. He was the pilot of the airplane, went down, and he had to make a crash landing in towards the reef because he was bombing an ammo dump a little bit too shallow, so some debris came up in his oil cooler, and so he had to make a controlled crash landing out towards the reef, and he was picked up within a half hour of swimming by a landing craft and was brought back to his base and was back in time for happy hour.
So the kids used, the kids used the images that they cleaned up from the data plate, were able to get into the MACR reports, which are the crash reports from the Marine Corps and the Navy. We were able to track down the squadron, which was VMF 121 flying off of Peleliu. We happened to have a former member of that squadron with us who contacted the base, and we were able to track Captain McCullough, who's actually now a retired lieutenant colonel down in Florida. Turns out Captain McCullough spent about 20 minutes in the water, as Buck said, returned to Peleliu, and then flew a combat mission the next day. and then later went on to fly combat missions in Korea for the Marine Corps.
So this was our second year back. We just returned from Palau actually 2 weeks ago. So this weather kind of sucks. It was really warm over there. Click. Some new things that we had this year that we didn't have our first year is we worked with the DeWitt Creativity Group, and they sent along 2 members from their group to do video. And they are making 3 20-minute shorts about us and our work in Palau. So they tagged along this year.
And DeWitt's a high school up north of Lansing, so we're trying to partner with other high schools and other groups to make this project grow.
And we also had, like Mr. Richards said earlier, a film crew that was filming us for the Discovery Channel. They went out with us 2 days on the boat, and then they did some offshore interviews with us as well.
So the ROV works really good for point target searching, but when you have 200 targets, it's really hard to get all of them. So we made a towfish, and what this is, it's pretty much a torpedo that we pull behind the boat. It has 3 cameras on it, and we can scan a big swath of the bottom of the ocean. And if we find something, then we can send the ROV down. So pretty much what it does is it speeds things up, so we can look at a big area of the ocean without having to stop the boat.
Even with the sonar images from the AUVs, there's still a problem reacquiring the targets based on the standoff distance that the AUVs ran their side scan sonar course. So this has helped us narrow down the searches to reacquire targets.
One of the things that we did this year was I teach 3rd, 4th, and 5th that I mentioned, and we compete in the mate competition. But one of our big projects this year is we're raising 135 salmon with the DNR salmon in the classroom, and our project was to capture images of the release with the salmon. So we're working with the high school to do a couple things. One, just to capture images, but then one, to maybe find a way to build a container to acclimate the salmon. And so while doing that, we decided, well, let's take one of the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade ROVs out to Palau, and we did that. And we had some success with our ROV. One day we took it out, and we took it out onto one of the side scan sonar and identified a Japanese World War II cargo ship with that. And then the other piece that we started in Palau is we're always begging for people to help us. So what we did is we took ROV kits out to Palau, and our team started a ROV education program in Palau. And within 2 days, the Palau Elementary School already had theirs built, and we've been getting emails back for the past 2 weeks that they're already researching on the coral reefs. So that was a neat development. And last but not least, what we're doing to try to help raise money for our program is we built 10 ROV kits, and Mr. Richards and I and Buck go out to area schools, and we give mini workshops on how to build the ROVs, and then we lease the kits to the teachers for a month so that they have 10 kits right away at their disposal to build and use the ROVs. And so that's helped us raise some money.
Okay, this is something new this year also. This is Reverend Lou Towler. He's from here in Ann Arbor, Michigan, a former Episcopalian minister. He landed on Peleliu on D+3. So that was September 18th, 1944. He landed with the 73rd CB Battalion. And this is the first time that he's returned to the battlefield since he left Peleliu in 1945. He's standing right there on Orange Beach, the picture on the bottom right, and that's where him and the part of the 1st Marine Division came ashore. On the bottom left is a chapel, or what's left of the chapel at the 81st Infantry Division Memorial, and the 73rd CB Battalion built that chapel. This is living history. I mean, this project is much more than just building robots and running them on the bottom of the ocean. Our students were able to complete an oral history on Lou. He has amazing photographs and a scrapbook from the war. But probably one of the most moving things was when we first got to Peleliu. Lou read the orders from General Robertus, putting the Marines ashore and the Seabees ashore, and then he read a roll of the war dead from the 73rd Seabee Battalion. And I don't think there was a dry eye there. I'm a former platoon sergeant from the Army. I had 2 Marine Corps F-18 aviators there that were just as much in tears as I was, and the kids were taken by it too. It was just a moving experience. Go ahead.
Last year, while we did the World War II tour on Peleliu, Buck and I were asked by the owner of the World War II Museum to create a poster for him as a display inside his museum of what we've done in the search for these MIAs. So when we got back last year, we spent a lot of the off season creating this poster, and on one whole column of it is about our Stockbridge team, what we do, what we've built, and our goals. The other column is about Bent Prop, why we're partnering with them, what they've been doing for the past 20 years. And you can't see it in the picture, but the whole bottom part is about the McCullough story and the success that we found. And this is actually posted in the World War II Museum, along with a poster that some of the 4th and 5th graders made, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, well, here's this one. This is an interesting story, and what was the lady's name that we met today that's part of the, Tracy? So we're standing down there, and she sees that it's Palau, and she says, "Did you guys go to Peleliu?" And we said, "Yeah, we were in Peleliu." She said, "Did you take the tour?" And we said, "Yeah, we took the tour." And I said, "Did you have Tanji?" And she said, "Yeah, I had Tanji." So this guy is one of 2 probably that give the tours in Peleliu, and so he asked us to do this war memorial poster. And so with my kids, and we're focused on that project-based learning. So with mine, what we did is we came down to Willow Run and toured the B-24 plant, and we with the Yankee Air Museum learned how the B-24s were made. They got to put on their white gloves and go into the artifacts, and some of their team came with us, and we took pictures, and we created a poster on how Henry Ford took the assembly line process and broke it down to where he could build a B-24 every 55 minutes. And that's part of the Common Core for Michigan, is to teach Henry Ford's assembly line. And so we just transformed it into, well, he also built B-24s, and we created a poster with, again, the help of the high school. So it was that collaboration with the high school that we try to keep throughout the year.
Before we went out on the boat each day, we had a briefing before with the Ben Prop project, with a couple scripts people, with our boat driver, everybody, and then the students actually led it. I led the briefing that day, and so I had to tell who, what, where, when, why, everything about the mission, just so everybody's clear on what we're doing that day and what targets we're going to be looking at and any problems that have occurred and that have been fixed. And then we also just run a safety briefing, just so everybody's clear on what's going on and make sure everybody knows.
So when we're in Palau each morning, before we get on the boat, we always test it off the dock. And each morning, we'll set everything up dockside, and we'll put it in the water, and we'll just run basic tests, forward, backwards, up, down. Because we're in Palau, nothing really seems to go as planned. Even though it worked when we put it away, it probably won't work when we get it out. This is a picture of Evan Mr. Richards dropping it in. And usually each day we have to do buoyancy depending on if the temperature changes.
So as Buck mentioned with our safety briefings, people organization is huge. At days we had 22 people on the boat, and the boat was, that's the boat we were on, and we had 22 people on it plus all of our equipment. So everybody had specific jobs that they were in charge of, and usually we pushed all the adults to the back so they got out of our way, and we could let our ROV pilot do what he needed to do and our engineers get everything set up so they had it right, and they just kind of point and tell us marketing people what to do. But people organization was huge, making sure, our battery box, people weren't stepping on connections, and just making sure everything was safe.
On our ROV, we have 3 cameras on it, and each camera is connected to a small TV screen. So we drive the ROV off these little TVs, and it gets a little complicated sometimes, and like everybody wants to crowd around you and see what you're doing. So driving the ROV gets a little stressful sometimes. So Jenny was in charge of clearing it out for us, so it wasn't so stressful. And then we also have a video recording space for 2 laptops to record video on the front camera and the down-facing camera.
So piloting the ROV is obviously a big thing, and when we drop the robot in, we'll have a designated area for the pilot and co-pilot, and when he's driving, we'll dive it down, we'll call out depth, and we have a dive log and record everything that happens, so if we do find something, we can figure out when and where it was.
We also tested, when we tested the pool, we had everybody drive the ROV, and we specifically chose 3 people to drive it. I'm the main driver, then Jeremy will take over when I get tired, and then we also have Bree Taylor, who she enjoys driving a little bit, and she actually found the shipwreck this year. After we're done on the boat, we come back to the dock, and at the marina there's a little a bar and grill that we go to, and we just sit at the table and debrief our mission that day. Just say what went well, what needs to be improved on, and what each person specifically did well, and what they can do better the next day. We brief about what we're doing the next day and any targets that we marked off the list or need to go back to.
This is where the real learning takes place, as they looked at the problems they had during the day, identify those and find out ways to do them better. Some of the debriefings these kids do are better than some of the military units I was in over 20 years. They've got to the point where they can zero in on problems with thick skin and then compliment people also at the same time. So it's a valuable skill to learn for corporate America or the military or just to be a human being, to be able to accept and take and give criticism constructively.
So like I said, nothing ever goes well, and this year we were having some connection issues, and we actually had to bring the robot inside Necco Marine in the air conditioning, and we worked on it, and this is a picture of me getting the inside ready for Buck to solder. Scripps Institute of Oceanography helped us out big time. They gave us a connection kit, and it pretty much, we soldered everything, and then the big black connection on the top left there, it's about a $70 kit that waterproofs everything, so a big thank you to them.
That's a picture of me soldering on the boat. So we had to do changes and connection issues like right on the spot. So we got out the soldering kit, hooked it up to our battery converter, and then just soldered it right on the boat deck. We had to do this last year as well. When it was 7 miles out in the ocean, we didn't have time to come back to shore and then use the materials there.
I think that's your favorite place to solder. One of the perks that we had again this year is the president came to us. The first year we went, we were invited out to the president's office, and we got to meet him. That year we presented him with the Tigers baseball jersey. He's a big baseball fan. This year they had a change in presidency, and he is an avid diver, and he asked to come out with us and dive on the Corsair that we'd found the previous year. It turns out he is a graduate of Grand Valley State. And we contacted them before we left, and they sent us with a bunch of Grand Valley stuff for him, some signed postcards and some shirts and stuff. So he was very happy to have those. We presented those to him on the boat, and then he dove on the Corsair where our ROV was. We also got to meet with Mr. Tom Daly, who is the second in charge at the embassy. He came out and dove with us on the same day as the president as well. He also came to one of our presentations that we held at a local dive shop, and he was wearing our robotics t-shirt that night, so it was pretty cool.
Okay. We did meet a lot of government officials in Palau. This here is Mr. Dwight Alexander and Mrs. Susan Feeney. They're with the Bureau of Arts and Culture in Palau, and they're responsible for all the dive sites. Things that we're finding are undiscovered sites, except for the Corsair that we found last year, so that we're helping them provide documentation and a historical record of these sites. So they've actually asked us to come back next year and do more of a traditional archaeological mission. There's a sunken city off the east side of the island that's kind of hard to get to, and they want us to do a survey with our video cameras underwater of this archaeological site.
It wasn't all work. While we were in Palau, we actually did a couple tours. One in particular was the Rock Island tour. So we got to go to Jellyfish Lake, which is 1 in 3 lakes in the whole world that have stingless jellyfish. There's about 8 million estimated in this one small lake, and each jellyfish follows the sun throughout the day. So we went to it and got to swim, snorkel over jellyfish, and have them all crowd around us, and we could play with them and stuff. And the tour guide said that if you see 1 jellyfish, keep swimming. If you see 100, keep swimming. If you see thousands, just keep swimming. You'll see more. And then finally we got to the millions, and there's millions of jellyfish just surrounding you. It was amazing. And then we also went to a couple coral reefs and got to see some amazing fish, and just the wildlife there is amazing.
So again, we want to say thank you to all of our sponsors. We have a list of them on our Facebook page, so you guys should all go like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter.
Okay, so a little about next year. We've only been back 2 weeks, and we've already had one planning meeting for next year's expedition to Palau with the Bent Prop Project. We plan on continuing some of the partnerships that we had. The Bent Prop Project is a non-government organization full of former military folks that have dedicated their free time to going out and looking for MIAs, and they're the primary sponsor of this project. We plan to return and work with Dr. Eric Terrell's folks from Scripps Institution of Oceanography. They were able to include us on their Office of Naval Research grant, which helped us a lot this year. And then they've also worked one-on-one with our students. Buck's a little shy, but Dr. Terrell offered him a paid internship at Scripps next summer after his freshman year of college at Michigan Tech. So he's already in that loop, I think. But it's been a wonderful relationship with them. We've also worked with the Joint POW MIA Command out of Hickam Airfield in Hawaii, which is a joint service command responsible for accounting for our missing service members. They've actually video teleconferenced with our school, not only the robotics team, but our AP history class and our AP biology class, and talked with our students about how remains are identified, because our ultimate goal is to find our missing service members in Palau. But once we find a crash site with remains in it, we would turn it over to the Joint POW MIA Command for further excavation. But they've been real good about working with our students via the internet, and it was just a wonderful experience to be able to talk with anthropologists and archaeologists that do this every day, so that we had a background knowledge to begin our mission. We also worked with the government of the Republic of Palau. We have a pretty good relationship with the President of Palau and the U.S. Embassy in Palau, and we're looking to go back and work with those folks again. And we're always looking for new partners. So if people would like to partner with us, let us know. We can find some way to make it work for everyone. Some new technology that we're looking at adding next year is obviously the hexacopters that we showed you earlier from Scripps. We're able to pre-program those in autonomous mode, flying GPS waypoints, and then we've modified them to put GoPro cameras on to take pictures, either time-lapse photography or video, to create maps on the spot on a laptop on the boat. So that keeps us out of the crocodile-infested mangrove swamps. We're looking at possibly getting into a low-cost AUV with some help from some of our partners through a donation. And then we're looking to improve the electronics in our remotely operated vehicle itself and going to an Arduino-based system. So thank you for coming out and listening to us. We made the half-hour cutoff. We got a minute left. So if you have any questions, feel free to throw them out there.